Do you want to know the full meaning of Psalm 91 and how it walks for believers? Okay, watch till end. Psalm 91 is a powerful and poetic chapter of the Bible that emphasizes God's protection, faithfulness, and deliverance for those who trust in Him. Below is an explanation of its meaning, broken down by themes found in the verses. Assurance of God's shelter, Psalm 91 verses 1-2. Verses 1-2. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. These opening verses set the tone for the entire psalm, introducing key themes of God's protection, security, and faithfulness. Let's explore the meaning of these verses in detail. 1. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High. The term dwells refers to a continual, intimate relationship with God. It's not just about seeking God's presence in times of trouble, but living in that closeness and finding refuge in Him at all times. The secret place of the Most High points to God's presence, His sacred and holy realm, where His power, peace, and protection reside. This phrase emphasizes an exclusive relationship with God, one that is deeply personal, private, and secure. Meaning, this suggests that true safety comes from making God's presence the center of your life, not merely seeking Him in moments of distress, but continuously dwelling with Him. 2. Shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The shadow of the Almighty is a metaphor that speaks of God's protection and covering. Just as a shadow provides shelter from the sun, God's presence offers safety from danger. Almighty, Hebrew, Shaddai, is one of God's titles, signifying His all-powerful nature. This highlights that the protection offered under His shadow is both strong and complete. Nothing can harm those who take refuge in Him. Meaning, the image of living under God's shadow speaks of His intimate care, where believers find rest, protection, and comfort in His mighty power. 3. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. Refuge and fortress are two key words that depict God as a place of safety and strength. A refuge is a place of shelter or safety, while a fortress is a stronghold, a fortified place that is virtually impenetrable by enemies. My God emphasizes the personal nature of the relationship. It's not just about God being a general source of refuge. He is the psalmist's personal protector. In Him I will trust shows a declaration of faith. Trusting in God means depending on His ability to protect and deliver, not on human strength or other external sources. Meaning, this verse underscores the believer's personal confidence in God as a dependable protector. The psalmist is not only reflecting on God's power, but actively choosing to trust in Him. Summary of verses 1-2. The first two verses of Psalm 91 provide profound assurance of God's protective care for those who live in close relationship with Him. Dwelling in God's presence is portrayed as a place of rest, security, and strength. Believers are invited to make God their refuge and fortress, trusting in His ability to keep them safe from harm. The opening lines set a tone of trust and confidence in God's protection, regardless of external circumstances. Protection from harm, Psalm 91 verses 3-8. Verses 3-8. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. These verses continue the theme of God's protection, elaborating on the various dangers from which He shields His people. Let's break down these verses to uncover their full meaning. 1. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. Snare of the fowler. A fowler is someone who catches birds, and a snare is a trap used to capture them. This metaphorical language implies traps or dangers set by enemies or hidden threats in life, which God will protect his people from. Perilous pestilence. This refers to deadly or harmful diseases or plagues. In ancient times, pestilences often represented significant, widespread dangers, and this metaphor suggests God's protection from such afflictions. Meaning, God promises to deliver his people from both physical and spiritual dangers, traps set by others, and unforeseen afflictions. 2. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. The imagery of feathers and wings is tender and protective. It draws on the nurturing image of a bird protecting its young under its wings. It speaks to God's care and closeness, providing shelter, warmth, and security. Meaning, this verse highlights God's protective love, assuring that believers who seek his presence will be sheltered by his care, just like a bird shelters its young. 3. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. Truth. In this context, truth refers to God's faithfulness, reliability, and his promises. God's word and his character are unchanging and provide a sure defense. Shield and buckler. A shield was used to protect the body from attack, while a buckler was a smaller, portable shield used for defense. Together, these represent comprehensive protection, covering both direct and indirect threats. Meaning, God's truth is a defensive weapon against lies, deception, and harm. It is his promises that stand as a firm shield around the believer. 4. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day. Terror by night. This represents fear or danger that arises unexpectedly, often at night when one feels vulnerable. It could refer to physical threats, as well as psychological or emotional fears. Arrow that flies by day. Arrows symbolize attacks from enemies, and flying by day implies that threats are present at all times. These could be literal dangers or metaphorical ones, such as attacks on one's reputation or peace. Meaning, God assures that his protection will extend through both the visible and invisible dangers during both the day and night. There is no time or place where his safety is absent. 5. Nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. Pestilence that walks in darkness. This may refer to hidden dangers, such as diseases or spiritual threats, that cannot be easily seen. The darkness implies that these threats are often subtle or deceptive. Destruction that lays waste at noonday. Destruction at noonday symbolizes open, visible, and relentless threats. Noonday is a time of full light, so this suggests danger that is widespread and direct. Meaning, whether the dangers are concealed or blatant, God's protection is thorough and unfailing. 6. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. This speaks to the possibility of widespread disaster or loss, but the promise is that those who trust in God will remain untouched. The imagery of thousands falling emphasizes the magnitude of the threat, yet God's people are shielded. Meaning, even in times of overwhelming crisis or calamity, God promises his people that they will be safeguarded from harm, even if others around them are affected. 7. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. This verse suggests that believers may witness the consequences of wickedness, but they will not experience them. They will only observe the judgment that comes upon the wicked, not partake in it. Meaning, believers are protected not only from the effects of calamities, but also from the judgment that falls on the unjust. 8. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. The condition for this protection is that the believer has made God their refuge, trusting in him as their dwelling place. The emphasis is on the personal decision to rely on God, meaning, those who make God their refuge will experience his safeguarding presence, and no harm or destruction will touch them as a result of their trust in him. Summary of verses 3 to 8. In these verses, God's protection is depicted as encompassing all aspects of life: spiritual, physical, and emotional. The imagery of shelter, shields, and deliverance from harm emphasizes his comprehensive care for those who trust in him. Whether the threats are visible or hidden, personal or widespread, God assures his people that they will be safe from harm. The protection comes not through human effort, but through God's sovereignty, based on the believer's relationship with him. God's faithfulness as a shield. Psalm 91 verses 9 to 10. Verses 9 to 10. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. These verses build on the themes of trust and God's protective nature, emphasizing the believer's role in experiencing God's safeguarding. Let's examine these verses in detail. 1. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. Made the Lord your dwelling place. This phrase indicates a choice to make God the center of one's life. The word dwelling place here signifies a permanent residence, suggesting that God is not just a temporary refuge in times of trouble, but a constant, everyday place of rest and security. The Most High. This is a title of God that emphasizes his supreme sovereignty over all creation. By acknowledging God as the Most High, the psalmist highlights that the believer is choosing to trust in the highest authority and the ultimate protector. Meaning, the believer's safety and peace are directly tied to their intentional decision to make God the constant foundation of their life, trusting in his supreme authority and provision. 2. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. No evil shall befall you. This is a promise of divine protection from harm, danger, or wickedness. While this does not mean believers will never face difficulties, it assures them that evil, in the ultimate sense, will not overtake them or have the final victory. Nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. A plague refers to a widespread, often deadly affliction, like disease or calamity. God's protection here extends to the believer's home and household, suggesting that those who make God their refuge can trust in his protection not just for themselves, but for their loved ones and their living space. Meaning, God's protection is not limited to physical threats or external dangers. It encompasses both personal safety and the well-being of one's home. It promises that those who dwell in God's presence will be safeguarded from the forces of evil and destruction. 3. The role of trust and relationship. These verses underscore the importance of relationship with God. The you in verse 9 is a reference to those who have made a deliberate choice to live in God's presence and trust in him. This protection is conditional upon the believer's commitment to dwelling with God and relying on his sovereignty. Meaning, protection is not automatic for everyone, but for those who seek God's presence and make him their refuge, they can experience the security and peace of his faithfulness. God's faithfulness as a shield is available to those who make him their trusted shelter. Summary of verses 9 to 10. These verses highlight the close connection between faith in God and divine protection. God promises his faithful protection and preservation from evil and affliction, but the key is the believer's active choice to make God their refuge and dwelling place. This relationship invites God's shield of faithfulness, ensuring that no harm or plague will come near them. The believer's trust in God as the Most High positions them under his sovereign care and protection. Angelic assistance. Psalm 91 verses 11 to 13. Verses 11 to 13. For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. These verses introduce the theme of angelic protection, emphasizing that God provides supernatural assistance through his angels. Let's break down these verses for a deeper understanding. 1. For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. Give his angels charge over you. This phrase indicates that God commands his angels to watch over and protect his people. The word charge implies a specific assignment, meaning that God has designated angels to guard believers. To keep you in all your ways, God's angels are entrusted with protecting believers in every aspect of their lives. The scope of their protection is comprehensive, covering all paths, whether physical, emotional, spiritual, or relational. Meaning, this verse assures believers that they are never alone. God's heavenly messengers are actively involved in guarding them. Angels are given responsibility for their protection as they go about their daily lives. 2. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. In their hands they shall bear you up. This portrays angels as caring and supportive beings, holding and lifting up the believer when necessary. The image is one of divine assistance and care, preventing harm that could come from stumbling or falling, lest you dash your foot against a stone. This is a metaphor for avoiding accidents, pitfalls, or harm. The stone here represents obstacles or dangers that could cause injury, and angels are assigned to prevent such missteps. Meaning, the verse symbolizes that God's angels are not just passive protectors but active in guiding and supporting believers, ensuring that they do not suffer harm or danger in their daily walk. 3. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra. The lion and cobra are both symbols of danger, power, and death. The lion represents fierce enemies, while the cobra is a venomous and stealthy threat. To tread upon them suggests victory over these dangers. The young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. This extends the imagery of victory over enemies, as both the young lion and serpent represent powerful forces. Trampling them underfoot symbolizes complete domination and safety from harm. Meaning, this passage speaks of divine authority and protection, where believers are not subject to the forces of evil but are empowered to overcome them. It conveys that God's protection is so strong that even the most dangerous adversaries, whether physical or spiritual, will be defeated under his care. Summary of verses 11 to 13. In these verses, Psalm 91 highlights the protection and care provided by God's angels. God assigns angels to watch over his people, ensuring that they are kept safe from harm. The passage presents a picture of divine guardianship, where angels physically and spiritually uphold believers, preventing accidents and enabling them to overcome dangers, both seen and unseen. The imagery of trampling lions and serpents conveys the idea that believers are not passive in the face of danger, but are empowered to overcome obstacles with God's protection. These verses reflect God's active intervention in the lives of his people, ensuring they are surrounded by supernatural protection. It reminds believers that God is fully in control, using his angels to guard them from all harm. Promises for the faithful. Psalm 91 verses 14 to 16. Verses 14 to 16. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him, and show him my salvation. In these final verses of Psalm 91, God himself speaks, declaring the blessings and promises he will give to those who love, trust, and seek him. These promises are a culmination of all that has been discussed in the psalm. Let's break down the meaning and significance of these promises. 1. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. Set his love upon me. This expression refers to a deep, personal commitment and affection for God. It signifies a relationship where the believer intentionally chooses to love God, not just in a superficial way, but with a deep, enduring affection and devotion. I will deliver him. This is the promise of rescue and protection. God pledges to deliver the faithful from any form of danger or distress, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual. I will set him on high. This refers to God exalting the believer, placing them in a position of honor and security. It speaks of God lifting up those who trust in him and giving them a place of safety, away from danger. Because he has known my name. To know God's name is to understand his character, his power, and his promises. It reflects a relationship of intimacy, where the believer has a deep knowledge of God's nature and trustworthiness. Meaning, the first promise is that God will deliver and elevate those who genuinely love him and understand who he is. Their commitment to God results in his faithful protection and favor. 2. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. He shall call upon me. This indicates a prayerful, seeking attitude. The faithful are those who call on God in times of need, trusting in his ability to answer and provide. I will answer him. God promises to respond to the cries and prayers of his faithful people. His response is not passive. He actively listens and acts according to his will and purpose. I will be with him in trouble. This is a powerful promise of God's presence in times of difficulty. God does not abandon his people during hardship but remains with them, offering comfort, guidance, and support. I will deliver him and honor him. God will rescue the faithful from their troubles and elevate them, giving them honor even in the midst of adversity. Meaning, in times of distress, God promises both his presence and his intervention. He not only answers prayers but remains with his people through difficulties, ultimately delivering them and honoring them in the process. 3. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. With long life I will satisfy him. This promise suggests both physical longevity and a life full of fulfillment. It's not just about living a long life, but living it to the fullest, with God's provision and purpose at the center. I will show him my salvation. The ultimate promise is that God will reveal his salvation to the faithful. This could refer to temporal deliverance from troubles and dangers, but it also alludes to the eternal salvation and redemption God offers through Jesus Christ. Meaning, the final promise is one of long-term fulfillment and eternal security. God promises to satisfy the believer with a life that is both fulfilling and centered on his salvation, leading to ultimate peace and rest in him. Summary of verses 14 to 16. In these closing verses, God makes a series of personal promises to those who love, trust, and call on him. These promises include deliverance, exaltation, divine presence in trouble, and the ultimate satisfaction of a long life marked by God's salvation. God assures his people that their faithfulness will not go unnoticed, and he will honor them, protect them, and give them an abundant life filled with his peace and purpose. These promises point to both the immediate benefits of God's protection in this life and the eternal reward of salvation. Key themes: God's faithfulness. God always keeps his promises to those who seek him sincerely. Intimacy with God. These promises are based on a personal, loving relationship with God, which involves calling on him and knowing his name. Protection and salvation. God guarantees both temporal protection in life's challenges and eternal salvation. Overall meaning of Psalm 91. Psalm 91 is a profound declaration of faith in God's ability to protect, guide, and deliver his people. It provides comfort and reassurance, especially during times of fear, uncertainty, or danger. The psalm calls believers to trust God wholeheartedly, knowing that he is a reliable refuge and fortress against all forms of harm, spiritual, physical, or emotional.